So I want to talk to you about using AI for doing branded images for things like blog posts. So I've been doing these blog posts and I've been creating these monochromatic typographic images, and I've been enjoying creating them, but I've also been on my mind that they take me a little bit too long. So I have a bit of fun doing them, but there's probably better things I could be doing with my time, to be honest. But I don't want to use stock imagery. It's very hard to find stock imagery for some of the stuff that I'm talking about. And also, I didn't particularly want to be paying someone to do it. I started using an artificial intelligence image generator called Midjourney, and I thought, you know what, there's got to be a way to use Midjourney for this. So I started experimenting, and Midjourney is not good at typographic treatments. It's not good with text. It mangles words, so that's not something it's good at. So that was out. And then I was trying to get it to follow a color palette, and it turns out that's also pretty much out. Now, Google actually have an artificial intelligence image generator that by all accounts is incredible at dealing with text. So that's probably on the way. They don't have a public version of that. So at the moment, there's no great way to do it. There's another image generator called DALL-E. I think that is better at text. But I'm using Midjourney. I really like its artistic output, if you want to put it that way. So I wanted to try to figure out how I could get it to do branded images. So if we have a look at the latest post here, I have created these images in Midjourney, and then I have doctored them to look more branded. The beauty of this is that, previously I only really had time. I didn't even really have the time, but I was doing one image for the top of the post for the featured image. And then the posts were just plain text from there on in. Now, with the power of artificial intelligence, I can create multiple images to put in throughout the post. So I'm going to talk you through how I do this. And I use a combination of Midjourney and free tools. I'm not going to talk you through all of the steps of signing up with Midjourney and downloading Discord and all that side of it, because there's loads of material out there to help you do that. I found this really good absolute beginner's guide to Midjourney artificial intelligence. He talks you through signing up. I highly recommend downloading Discord. This is the Discord app, but as Vladimir will explain, you can actually use the web interface as well. I much prefer using the app personally, but midjourney.com is where you will start your journey. You can sign up here. I am paying about $30 a month, and that gives me pretty much unlimited use of Midjourney. You can sign up for a free trial, and that will give you a couple of images. So you can sign up for a free trial and try it out and see what you think. But then if you are going to be creating content on a regular basis, and if you want to use it to create these branded images for your content, you will need a paid account. I think $30 a month is well worth it. I mean, right now, I only create one blog post a month, but for this blog post alone, I have created 3 images, and I can also, if I wanted, I could, create an image for every single section of the blog post if I wanted at no extra cost. And obviously, the time saving for me is the real benefit. And if I was to actually find someone who could illustrate the posts, I have no idea how much that would cost, but it would be a lot more than $30 a month. So let's have a look at how I actually do this. Let's just look at one of the sections here. Send a lovely request email and some even nicer reminders. So let's say we want to create an image for this section. So let's start simple in the artificial intelligence image generator, and we will just see what it comes up with for email. So I'm going to go into Discord, and I'm going to assume that you have a paid account for the rest of this tutorial. I'm going to talk you through it as if you have a paid account. You will be able to experiment and do this with your trial, with your free trial, but it will be slightly different. So when you have your free trial, for example, you will be in Midjourney here, and you will be in a newbie section over here. Because I have a paid account, it won't even let me use these newbie channels. So I can't actually show you that, but the process is the same. I am going to do it here in my private chat. And the first thing is, if you're on the highest tier, if you're on the $30 a month, then the first thing I'd recommend you do is, while you're experimenting, is just go into relax mode. So you type in /relax and you hit enter, and it'll give you a message. Once you've done that, it'll say done. Your jobs now do not consume fast hours, but might take a little longer. You can always switch back with fast. And we're going to do a bit of switching back and forth between relaxed mode and fast mode. The only reason I do that is because they say that you're using up more resources basically by doing the fast mode. And I don't really need to be, I'm not in a hurry with these. And they really, the difference in time is negligible really for the user. So I just use relax mode so that I'm not using up the resources. So now let's get it to create an image. So for that, we do /imagine, and you see as you type, whenever you type /, you'll see that the prompts pop up here. And what we want is /imagine. So you can click on it here, or you can start typing to narrow down the options. And then we're going to click on the imagine prompt. Our prompt is going to be email. So let's just do that first. Let's just say we're just going to pop in a plain prompt for email. So now it's waiting to start, and it starts to render the image, and you'll see the image develop, and it tells you the percentage here as it goes. So I am going to fast forward to when it's complete. So our image is, or our initial render is complete. And if we click on this and have a look, it's basically giving us 4 possible options. And then these buttons here, this buttons is if we want to say, no, I'm not really into any of these, give me some different options again, and it'll generate another 4. These U buttons, U is short for, I think it's upscale, upres, up something. Anyway, basically it means render out this image. This is the one I want. So this is number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4. So you just choose which one you want to generate properly or fully. And then these V buttons are for if, well, this is, let's say, version 2, that's really close, but it's not quite right. So you can click on V2 and it'll give you some other options that are very, very similar to version 2. Sorry, I'm pointing at version 3 and saying version 2. Right. Now, you might have noticed, by default, these images are square. And for my blog, I don't want to use square images because I feel like they use up too much real estate on the screen. So I like to use a 16:9 ratio, which is basically this nice wide image that isn't too deep. And we can do that. We can tell Midjourney that that's what we want by adding something to our prompt. So now we'll do email, and I think these are called modifiers. I'm not sure, but you do --, or for aspect ratio, space, and then 16:9. Okay, so we'll hit return. And again, I'm going to fast forward to when this is complete, but already you can see that now we have 4 images that are 16:9, that are a kind of a horizontal aspect ratio rather than the square. Okay, great. So these are done. Let's have a closer look at them. So I quite like this fourth one here, but we're not done yet because it's well worth like playing around and experimenting and really trying to see what you can get Midjourney to come up with for you. And then ultimately you will probably collect some prompts that you use frequently. So first of all, I'm just going to see what would happen if I add in, because if we go back to the blog post, the heading was send a really lovely request email. So let's just see what happens if we do a prompt that is lovely email. And then a prompt that I use a lot is illustration. And it changes the quality of the artistic output. I highly recommend that you read the FAQ. There are some channels within the Discord server where people are discussing the different prompts you can put in. You can also read up about what all the different modifiers are. There's a wealth of stuff, but I'm going to show you the essentials. So we've got lovely email, illustration, and then we still want to put in the aspect ratio 16:9. And yeah, let's just see what comes back for that. And once again, I will fast forward. Right, so these are done, and let's have a look. So we can see that the lovely has clearly come into effect with all these hearts, but the concept of email seems to be a little bit lost. So I am going to do imagined prompt. I'm going to put email first. Email, lovely, illustration, aspect ratio 16:9. So some pretty interesting results there, but I'm still not actually happy. So I am going to try adding a weight. So we will do email and then 2 colons and 1.5. So that tells Midjourney that we want to weight email heavier. Then we'll still include lovely, illustration, and the aspect ratio. Again, some pretty cool illustrations there. I'm still not loving it, so I'm going to keep going. And you can see at this point why you need the paid account, because you're going to use up certainly you're going to use up your free trial very, very quickly. However, I will say that, you do start to get the hang of it, and you do start to use prompts over and over. And also, you can also just click the give me new options here and see what comes back. But I'm still enjoying experimenting with what brings the results I'm looking for. So now I'm going to say email, and I'm going to weight it 2. I'm going to say heart instead of lovely. Illustration, aspect ratio. Of course, because I'm recording this, it's taking me longer than usual to find something that I'm happy with, that's always the way, isn't it, when you record? This time, I am going to say email weighted 1.5, heart weighted -1, illustration. I'm still not happy. So this is going to be the one. So I've just weighted email 1.5, and then I've included the heart. This was interesting. Anytime I put heart in, heart seems to take over. So maybe heart was a mistake. And then it's interesting, when I put heart -1, it just seemed to like create stuff that was almost the opposite of lovely, which I guess kind of makes sense. Well, these are kind of interesting. Look at this. What's happening here? This number 3 looks like it might be interesting. I kind of love watching them develop like this. Number 1 is starting to look interesting too. So let's have a closer look. Ooh. Now these are kind of cool. This is more like what I was looking for. Will I see what variations it might give? Let's just see what it would give us for variations on number one. So I went ahead and I did some variations of pretty much all of them. I think, let's look at this again. These are nice, but they're looking a little bit dark. They're darker than this one here. So I am actually going to upscale number one here. Okay. All right. So I love it. Look at this. This is great. Lovely email. Perfect. Right. So we have our image. Now, you might remember I went into relaxed mode. So there's an option here now that we've upscaled this guy. There's an option to upscale it again to the maximum resolution. That's only on the $30 a month plan. That said, if you're on the $10 a month plan, the size of the default upscale is actually plenty for most purposes. All right, so now it's upscaled to max. I'm going to click on it here. I'm going to open the original, and then I'm going to right click and save image as. I'm going to rename it so I can easily find it as MJ from Midjourney. Lovely email. Okay. Now we are on to the second phase of what we're up to here, because this is great. This is a fabulous illustration and it's wonderful for our purposes. But I want it to fit my brand that little bit better. And I spent ages in Midjourney trying to get it to use a color palette, using a color palette image as a reference, putting in specific colors, and I didn't get any results that I was really happy with. I have no doubt that at some point, whether it's with Midjourney or another generator, that you'll be able to just specify a color palette. But for now, we need to do it ourselves. So what I am doing is changing the images into these monochromatic images in one of our brand colors. And it's very, very easy to do, and you can use it with a free tool called Pixlr. So you go to pixlr.com, that's pixlr.com, and you're going to want to use the advanced photo editor, which is Pixlr E. So we'll click on Pixlr E, and we will move me so we can get to this close button here, close this thing. And now we will open an image. We will open the image that we downloaded. MJ, lovely email. Cool. Get through a gazillion pop-ups. So we have our image open here. So on this layer here, we're going to go adjustment, auto, black and white. And then I'm also going to look at the brightness and contrast. And I am going to up the brightness, and I'm going to lower this instance. I'm going to lower the contrast because it's very dark around the edges, and anything that's pure black is going to kind of remain a pure black. So I want as little pure black as possible while still retaining all of the detail. I'm going to brighten it up even a little bit more. Let's try it around here. And then the next step is we are going to get my brand color. So for that, I use coolers. All you need here is you just need the hex number of your color. So that's the website code for your color. Coolers is a very, very cool tool. I highly recommend it. I have the paid version, but there's a free version that is absolutely perfect for most uses. So I want this green here. So all I have to do in coolers is just click to copy that code. And then we'll come back here to Pixlr, and we will add a new layer, and we'll just add an empty layer. And then in the empty layer, we will paste in we'll fill it with our color. So the first thing we'll do is click on the colors here. So we'll change this white, and now I can paste in the hex code that I copied. So that's my green pasted in there. We click OK, and then we'll get the fill tool, which is this. It's like a little bucket splashing out. So we will click on the fill tool, and we'll just click anywhere. We have the layer, we have this blank layer selected here, and we just click anywhere. Great. So now we've just got a load of green. Okay, so in order to get our image to show through, we click on these three dots here for the layer settings. And for blend mode, we'll click on blend mode and we'll change it to overlay. And look at that. That is a thing of beauty. Sorry, close these settings here. How beautiful is that? So now we have a fantastic illustration in our brand colors. Okay, now we want to size the image. So we go to page and we will resize the page. And I know that in this case, I want this to be in the blog post. And I know that the image sizes for that, it's a width of 700 pixels. So we resize it to 700 pixels and then we say file, save. And then you have options here. I mean, JPEG is probably the simplest, but there's also WebP, which can be smaller. Let's just stick with JPEG for the moment, and we will say save as. And we're going to go at right here, save. And then the last step that I recommend is if you're putting these on your website, then I recommend using tinyjpeg.com. That's tinyjpg.com. So we will simply find the image we downloaded here, drag and drop, and that just makes it a little bit smaller. I'm just adding SM for small here at the end, so I know which one's which. And now our site is in WordPress. And so now I'm just going to add the image in here. And I'm going to update the post. And let's have a look. So now we have a post with all of these illustrations that are on brand for Frank and Marcy because they're in one of our signature brand colors here. So that is more or less it. That is what I am doing. There is huge power in this in terms of like you could play around with, you come back to the layer here and we look at these settings. The blend mode, so there are loads of other blend modes here to try. Like screen is a really nice one. So with screen, you might remember I lightened the underlying image. With screen, you might want to darken the underlying image, but you can play around with these and see what works for your brand. And then also, we could, for example, we could grab the yellow here as well. And then we could try putting a gradient. So I clicked on the gradient tool and then up here we can edit the gradient. And we'll go from our green to our yellow. Let's try this. Let's try a diagonal one maybe. Oops. Oh, look at that. I clicked it by accident, but that looks pretty cool. And again, these are our brand colors for us. And then, I might think, okay, let's get really creative and let's bring a little bit of red back to these hearts. So we have a brand red here. And let's put that into the color here. And then I've used the lasso tool here to just draw. So I'm just using my mouse and my best hand-eye coordination to try and trace this heart. Not brilliant, but let's zoom in a little bit. We'll get the magnifying glass and we'll zoom in. Should have done this first. Okay, let's try that again. Now that I've zoomed in, yeah, that's much easier. Bit of a wobble there. I'll just go back over it. I remember back in the days, I used to do a lot of illustration using just my mouse, but I'm a little bit out of practice. Okay. And now we'll fill that selection with the red. Ooh. And let's do the other heart as well. Really putting my hand-eye coordination to the test here. Ooh. Here's the tricky bit. Okay, and fill that with red, and then zoom out, and look at that. Absolutely beautiful. So now we've got 3 of our brand colors in this illustration, and all we'd have to do is file, save, and download this again. But for my money, let's just keep it simple, either the gradient or the monochromatic. I love monochrome myself anyway, so this really, really suits me. So I hope you found that useful, and please, 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 I would absolutely love to see your branded images in use. If you do use this, do drop me a line, send me a message on LinkedIn, send me an email, frank@frankandmarcy.com, and let me see what you come up with in collaboration with Midjourney.